Good evening, everyone. Today is October 20th. This is a regularly scheduled City Council meeting. Can we all please rise and begin our meeting with a prayer? Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. We now please salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, could you call the roll?
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott. That's 9 present.
Present. Before we begin our regularly scheduled agenda, the chair would like to recognize Council Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for 2 lovely ladies that passed away recently. The first is Demetrila Julie Theokis, a lifelong resident of Lowell. Julie was a graduate of Lowell High School class of 42. She worked as a seamstress for Hathaway Shirt Company for over 20 years. The most important part of her life was with her husband, Bill, of 68 years, and her family. Julie was a member of the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Lowell, where she participated in the church choir, the Ladies Philopthicus Society, and the Tuesday Morning Group, as well as the Hellenic American Academy Alumni Association, Hellenic Cultural Society, the Daughters of Penelope, the Lowell Garden Club, and the former Middlesex Women's Club. Julie is survived by her loving husband, former police officer William Theokis, 2 sons, George and James, 2 daughters, Maria and Pamela, 8 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. She will be truly missed. And I would like to also offer, and secondly, I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Constance LeMay, a longtime resident of Pawtucketville section of Lowell. Connie was the beloved wife of former Mayor Armand W. LeMay for 64 years. Connie was a graduate of Keith Hall class of 1950. In the early part of her marriage, she worked at the former McCartney clothing store. After raising her family, she worked as a bookkeeper for the LeMay Company Incorporated for several years. She was a parishioner of the former St. John d'Arc Church and presently of the parish of St. Rita, and she taught religious education at both parishes. She was also a member of the Knights of Columbus Ladies Auxiliary. Surviving her, in addition to her husband Armin, are 5 sons, Curtis, Timothy, John, Joseph, and Mark, 15 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. We offer our sympathy to the family. She will be truly missed, and we also offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber to all of your loved ones who passed away since our last council meeting. May they all rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. I also like to offer a moment of silence for Amy Gauthier for her brother, Amy Pescia, for your brother, Bob, Tim Gauthier. Thank you. Could we all please rise for a moment of silence, and could we please darken the chamber? May they all rest in peace. So we'd like to begin this meeting. Under Mayor's business, we have a proclamation to the Ramac Valley Food Bank in recognition of Food Day. So, Ms. Pescia, could you please come to the podium? And before we proclaim today Food Day, October 24th, Members and members of the audience, you have an apple on your desk. If you could please take the apple. We are going to have what they call a apple crisp. Councilor Rourke is not escaping this. He doesn't have an apple.
Apple Crunch. Did you get one?
So, Apple Crunch, excuse me. So, in celebration of Food Day, we did this in the mayor's reception room. We think it's a good way to celebrate Food Day, and everybody takes an apple. You can also sign a pledge. All the members signed a pledge to eat one apple a day, as well as for Food Week, not to drink any soda. So, with that, I'd like to ask you, Amy, to just introduce Food Week. We had a representative from Mass Department of Agriculture joining us. Lowell was one of the first to celebrate Food Week, and today is Food Day. So before we take our crunch of the apple, Ms. Pescia.
I'm pleased to represent a number of organizations in the city, including Lowell General Hospital, Lowell Community Health Center, Community Teamwork, and Mill City Grows, just to name a few, that have come together to plan a kickoff, which took place before the council meeting tonight in the mayor's reception room, because there will be a week-long list of activities to celebrate the fact that we are growing food right here in our city and that we're promoting healthy eating for our residents and especially our children. The theme of Food Day this year, which is technically on October 24th, is Toward a Greener Diet. And we all should try to incorporate green items into our diet in addition to an apple a day. And we are so pleased to be a part of a community in which our leaders and civic organizations promote and encourage and urge people to grow their own food and facilitate school gardens and gardens that are being built and growing food in formerly blighted areas of the city. And we're returning to the original economic part of Lowell, which is agriculture. And we appreciate the proclamation that I will gladly accept on behalf of the groups that are part of the Food Day week planning. And I'd like all of them to join me at the podium.
Everybody come on up. Don't be shy. There's only 22,000 people watching you right now.
Some of the folks instrumental in planning did have to leave before the meeting, but we do appreciate this proclamation and all of the support that you provide for our organizations and our residents.
So I was going to do the apple crunch before this, but I realized then I'll have a mouthful of apple, so we'll give the proclamation first. So on behalf of the city, this is a proclamation, whereas the health and well-being of our citizens is the primary concern of Lowell, and whereas promoting safer, healthier diets is a critical factor in improving citizens' overall health, and whereas supporting sustainable family farms and local agriculture benefits the local economy, and whereas obtaining fair pay, safe conditions for food and farm workers is beneficial for both the producer and consumer, so that the food we produce and consume is safe and fair for all. And whereas expanding access to food and reducing hunger is of critical importance and to aid those who live in food deserts, and whereas reforming factory farms to protect the environment and farm animals is necessary to sustain future generations. Now, therefore, I, Rodney M. Elliott, Mayor of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim Saturday, October 24th, as Food Day in the City of Lowell. And on behalf of my colleagues, we urge all citizens to participate, given on this 20th day of October, 2015. Thank you.
Thank you. Crunch. You want apple crisp, don't you?
Crisp is on my mind. Crunch. Okay, everybody. Mr. Reporter. On three, 1, 2, 3. Happy Food Day. Food. It's really very good. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, this is a follow-up from a motion that Councilor Mercia made to invite all of our artists whose work is now hanging in the esteemed chamber. And we wanted to invite you because we want to recognize you and thank you for your contributions to make this council chamber very beautiful. I tell you, many people around the world come here and they really marvel at the works of art that are on the wall. And I can attest to it over the course of the last 2 years. So with that, on behalf, Councilor Mercer, did you want to, it was your motion, so.
Gee, it's tough to talk with an apple in my
Right,
mouth, but
right.
that's all right. We have Councilor John Leahy that started a crusade here to refurbish these beautiful walls and with the drapes, and how else could we make this room beautiful but to put our artists' beautiful work on the walls. And they have graciously put forth a campaign to do that, and there are like 13 paintings that adorn this beautiful chamber. But it's nice to see these paintings, but I've always thought it would be even nice to put a face with the artist to the painting. And so we tried to do that, and through the efforts of many people getting together to do that, before the council meeting started, I had a chance to see the artist that now I know who has done a lot of these. There is also a woman including Edith Berger. She's not here this evening, but she's 103 years old. I'm dying to know which painting did she do, because I couldn't even begin to realize that. But we do have a number of artists here this evening, and if they could come up to the podium and I wish we could scan the room and put them near their artwork here. It's so beautiful. And I told them earlier, and this is true, sometimes I know you're talking and all I hear is yada, 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 but my head and my brain is focused right inside of those pieces of art, and I'm like envisioning myself right there by that waterfall and so I'm really not paying attention to a word you're saying, but that's all right.
You're not the only one. So, Councilman Manazzo, in the future, when you see her staring off, we'll have to keep her back on track. We know what she's
Get
doing.
lost in the beauty of these paintings.
Right.
I realize there's a photographer that does such excellent work here in the audience that 2 of his actual pictures are not artwork at all, but they look just like they were hand-painted. I don't know how he did that, but they're amazing. And I'm not supposed to probably say, but they're right in the back wall there. They are gorgeous. I can't believe that's not, oh, here comes Janet Lambert Moore. All right, Janet. Woohoo! So if the artists could come up here, that'd be great if they could introduce themselves and, kind of point to
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. And while they're making their way up, Councilor Leahy, you were, as Councilor Mercia had mentioned, you were the steward of this project, and you were tenacious about it, and you went out and raised money with Sean Harmon and get the artists involved. So a great deal of credit goes to you, and I can tell you, when I bring people in here, I'm proud to bring them in here, and people are amazed at this chamber. So, Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody that supported this, council members, and you're right, when we first started talking about this, and I mentioned it to Sean Harmon, and he talked to me about Eileen Byrne over at the Brush of Art Studios. Everything just took off from the curtains to the rug to the painting. So thank you for everybody for supporting this, and thank you to all the artists.
So with that, we will thank you for joining us this evening. We have citations for each one of you. Let me just run through the organizations that sponsored this as well: the Lowell Plan, Lowell General Hospital, Marina and Pina Shell, Jim and Susan Cooney, Nancy Donahue, Michael Breda, Greater Lowell Community Foundation, Enterprise Bank, Jeanette Credit Union, Jack Moynihan and Caroline Walsh, Conway Insurance, Bill Reedy and Darren N., Gallagher and Kavanaugh, Jerry Brogna, Claire Gagnon, Pride Star EMS. So with that, if you would like to come to the podium, and maybe if you could point out your work of art, your name, and then I'll read the citation and we'll distribute to each one of you.
Come up here.
Or-
Hi, I'm Mary Rose O'Connell, and this is my painting in the corner, right there.
That's beautiful, beautiful.
Hi, I'm Tom Gill. My painting is the third one from the left, the canal thing. And I just want to say, like, musicians need a stage, well, artists need a stage, and a place to show their work, because it's no good just to keep them at home. So I'm honored and happy to have my paintings hanging here. So thank you.
My name is Claire Gagnon, and just want to point out that Tom Gill has another painting over there,
Yes, he does.
which
Right
he
there.
omitted to mention. And my painting is the one in the middle there with the Quilt Museum on the left, and Live Alive in the middle, and what used to be the Revolving Museum on the right.
Beautiful.
My name is Dave Drynan. It's the second one, the snow scene, first snow, Merrimack Street.
Pretty. Oh, nice.
Hi, my name is Linda Demers, and mine is Urban Canyons, which is a painting to the right of the train.
That's
And I want to thank everyone, thank you all for having us. Thank you.
My name is Don Willett. My painting is Malden Avenue, which is right off of Varnum Avenue, and it's one of Lowell's hidden gems. It's a place that you drive by all the time if you're in Pawtucketville, but you've probably never seen it from that aspect. And thank you so much for having us here this evening. It's a pleasure.
Fabulous, Don. Thank you.
My name is Deirdre Grunwald, and my painting is Engine 410. I love that train.
Yes.
Reminds me of my husband.
Okay.
Called my Bill.
Hello, my name is Steve Noroyan, and the two pieces that Councilwoman Mercy already pointed out back here, Dutton Street and the Lowell Canal, are my pieces. And I just want to say and share what an honor it is to be here and see my work displayed. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Hi, I'm Janet Lambert Moore. I'm not the oldest artist that has things on the wall. Mine is behind the TV over there. And the one next to mine is by Edith Berger, who's 104 years old, who's been in Lowell for a long time. And I'd also like to thank the whole project for bringing the artists up to, this public building for everybody to see. And I have an exhibit going on now at the Whistler House that's going to go through November the 7th, and I'm there every Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 4 when we're open, so you can get to see Whistler's mother and Janet. And thank you all for coming, those who came already, and we've still got 3 more weeks. And thanks for supporting the arts. We have been supporting you forever, and we hope that you would support us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eileen Byrne. I'm the former director of the Brush Art Gallery who helped organize this project that Councillor Leahy was talking about. And Councillor Leahy, you actually helped jury this show, I remember. You helped choose the work, so very good taste. So thank you very much for doing this for the artists of Lowell.
So before you leave, on behalf of the city, we have a citation for each and every one of you. And I'll read one with the list of artists present here tonight or that participated. So this is a citation, be it hereby known to all, that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere gratitude to Edith Berger, Linda Demers, Dave Drynan, Claire Gagnon, Bill Jarvis, Tom Gill, Deirdre Grunwald, Janet Lambert Moore, Steve Norian, Mary Rose O'Connell, Don Willett. for allowing the city to have your beautiful artwork adorn the walls of the City Council chambers. The display of local artwork is a welcome addition to this magnificent room. Civic leaders, residents, and visitors to our city enjoy it and will enjoy it for years to come. Now, therefore, I, Rodney M. Elliott, on behalf of my colleagues in government, hereby offer all the best to you. We thank you for your beautiful contributions to the City Council chambers here at City Hall, given on this 20th day of October 2015 by myself, Rodney M. Elliott, the mayor, along with all of my colleagues in government. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thanks.
That's nice. Wow, that's cool.
It's wonderful. Good for you. You deserve it. So wonderful.
So we have one more, I have one more citation to issue. And that would be to Eileen Byrne, the former director of the Brush Gallery. Could you please come to the podium? I don't think she knows about this. Eileen, on behalf of the city, we offer a citation to you as well. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers our sincere gratitude to you, Eileen Byrne, former director of the Brush Art Gallery and Studios. The city thanks you for facilitating this project of having local artists display their beautiful artwork on the walls of the City Council chambers. The display of local artwork is a welcome addition to this magnificent room. And again, civic leaders, residents, and visitors come to our city and will enjoy it for years to come. Now, therefore, I, Rodney M. Elliott, Mayor of the City of Lowell, we hereby offer all the best to you, and we thank you for your contributions to this project here at City Hall, given on this 20th day of October 2015. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Mercier.
And I think that concludes this portion of the agenda. So again, many thanks. We enjoy it every week. And some of us doze off or gaze off into these, as you heard. And that's a good thing. So with that, we move on to the next section of the agenda. We have minutes from the city clerk. We have minutes of the City Council meeting of October 13th. We have minutes from the Substance Abuse Subcommittee on the 13th as well. Motion to accept these minutes and place on file by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion passes.
Mr. Mayor?
I would like to recognize Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have some people here this evening who would like to speak. Could I make a motion to take item Article 8.2 out of order?
Motion to suspend by Councilor Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy, to suspend the rules to take an item out of order. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. We suspend the rules to take item 8.2. Councilor?
Yes.
8.2. This is under City Council motions. We have a motion by Council Belanger to request the city manager work with the school superintendent to mandate opiate addiction education into the Lowell school curriculum. Seconded by Council Lay. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, my colleagues, we had a substance abuse subcommittee last Tuesday, and we received some rather grim information on the opiate situation here in the city of Lowell, that we continue to be hit very, very hard on this issue, where it was only just a few months ago we were averaging 2.5 overdoses per day, but recent statistics show that the month of September, we averaged 4 overdoses a day here in the city. This is a crisis. There's no two ways about it, and we're not alone. It's not just Lowell, it's throughout the Commonwealth and throughout the country. Major cities throughout the country continue to be hit very, very hard, and we're no exception. But this is something, as I attend meetings and forums, not only in the city, but throughout the Commonwealth, that I often hear the organizers, the planners, the family members from deceased that have been hit by this say time and time again that it should be in the curriculum, and it's not. And by it not being there is an injustice to them and the hard work that they do. I understand this is maybe not popular with some, but I believe firmly it's something that needs to get done. I don't know what age appropriate this is proper for, to put drug overdose awareness into the education. I'm no expert in education. I would like to leave that to the educators. That is a little bit out of my realm. But nonetheless, this is long overdue. This needs to get done sooner rather than later. Lowell has been proactive on this issue more than anybody in the Commonwealth. I truly believe that. And let us continue to be the flagship in the Commonwealth on this fight. So I ask my colleagues for unanimous support here this evening on this issue. They know, some of them are in law enforcement. They hear the stories. They know of people as well as I do. And I ask for their support on this issue. But I believe firmly that this needs to get done sooner rather than later, Mr. Mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. I think this is a great motion. The school committee has, we have had a discussion on this, and we have a registered speaker. There is some education, but it's just part of the health science or health class, and it's not a regular routine. And there is a motion in to have the superintendent do that, but it's a funding issue. Did you have something else, Council?
If I may, yeah, I know Lowell is doing, there is some, I understand. We
Just some,
occasionally
right.
have guest speakers. It needs to be ramped up.
Mr. Clark, we have a registered speaker.
Carrie Detremont.
Couple.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak on this issue. Good evening to the City Council and the City Manager as well. I want to speak in favor of this motion to mandate opiate addiction education in the school curriculum. As you mentioned, my name is Carrie Dentremont. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Lowell Health Alliance. The Greater Lowell Health Alliance, what we do is we're a nonprofit organization. We bring together healthcare providers, businesses, business leaders, educators, civic and community leaders, all with the common goal to, with hopes to help the Greater Lowell community identify and address our health and wellness priorities. Obviously, substance abuse being a major one in this area, and not just this area, as Councilor Belanger had mentioned. The GLHA, it plays a critical role in helping individuals and organizations work collaboratively to improve the health of the Greater Lowell region. We work to raise awareness on these issues and provide resources for our communities, for schools, healthcare care providers, and civic and business leaders. But to achieve these goals, the GLHA has formed 5 health-focused task forces, one of those being the Substance Use and Prevention Task Force, which I know I've come here and spoken about, and I've been invited to the subcommittee task force as well. These task forces target an individual healthcare, each one of our task forces target an individual healthcare need in our community. The task force members meet regularly to identify and evaluate opportunities where healthcare services are not being provided, develop strategies to address the high priority needs, research and adopt best practices, evidence-based initiatives to address the health-related issues in our community. They work to develop integrated collaborative action steps to increase and enhance both qualitative and quantitative measures of success, provide leadership in creating and expanding partnerships within our community network of healthcare providers, and identify, explore, and expand opportunities for funding these targeted initiatives. I'd like to acknowledge and thank City Councilor Belanger for his involvement in the Greater Lowell Health Alliance Substance Use and Prevention Task Force. And recently, he reached out to Lieutenant Governor Polito and had her attend our most recent Substance Use and Prevention Task Force meeting in October. And this very topic was a top item on the item for discussion. The Lieutenant Governor was very, I think, engaged in the discussion and really wants to take this to a state level as well. So I think it would be a wonderful thing to see that Lowell take the lead on this. And she even described Lowell, the city of Lowell, as really a model for other areas in the work that we're doing. So one of the initiatives of the Substance Use and Prevention Task Force is a school curriculum subcommittee. They've been focused on providing age-appropriate, evidence-based education for youth, really ages K through 12, and they adapt it being, it could be about healthy choices, and maybe not necessarily about opiate addiction in kindergarten, but just really talking about making healthy lifestyle choices and saying no and, things like that, all the way up to grade 12. Thanks recently to the efforts of our state legislators and specifically our champion in substance use and prevention, Representative Tom Golden, the Greater Lowell Health Alliance was able to issue an RFP and release funds to organizations to address these issues head-on with prevention and education programs in mind. So one particular project was the Substance Use and Prevention Regional Health Education Initiative, which is led by some people here that are going to be, I believe, speaking next from the Lowell Community Health Center Teen Block Program. So this project was designed to build and expand capacity of the region, not just Lowell, but to provide substance use and prevention education and create heightened awareness on this issue facing communities in the Greater Lowell region. This task force has been collaborating with representatives from towns of Billerica, Chelmsford, Dracut, Lowell, Tewksbury, Westford, and Wilmington. So while these organizations have been doing a wonderful job bringing substance use and prevention education through forums, community events, and piloted educational efforts, this opiate crisis is not going away. The need to expand those education efforts with evidence-based curriculum on a consistent basis is critical. Relying on possible grants funding each year may not be the best answer in addressing this important issue in the schools in a sustainable way. So this is a health epidemic, as Representative Corey Belanger had said, City Councilor Belanger had said. Children are witnessing their parents overdose at alarming rates, and they're expected to get up and go to school the next day. Children, as I mentioned before, they need to learn coping mechanisms and how to make healthy choices at a young age. Starting in middle school is too late. It really is. I just want you, to thank you for your time and consideration of Corey Belanger's request for the city manager to work with school superintendent to mandate opiate addiction education in the Lowell school curriculum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, Ms. Detremont. Thank you for all your work that you've done as well. We appreciate it. Mr. Clerk?
Sharenda Ush.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sochenda Uch, and I'm a resident of Lowell. I currently serve as the Youth Leadership Programs Coordinator at Lowell Community Health Center's Teen Block. Along with the work that I do for the Health Center, I also coordinate the Environmental Strategies Working Group, a subcommittee of the Greater Lowell Health Alliance Substance Use and Prevention Task Force. We all know that our community and other communities have issues around substance use and abuse, and especially with the opiate epidemic that we have been seeing over a few weeks and couple of years and months. I would like to commend City Councilor Bellinger for proposing to implement this and mandate opioid education and addiction into the public school system. As someone who works in the community with young people, I hear firsthand from students that it is a problem. They hear it, they see it in social media, they share it. At Team Block, we address substance use through educational workshops that are fun and engaging. If we can reach more young people and prepare them starting at an earlier age and to continue to prepare them through high school, we can also make a big impact. Each day, over 4,000 teens at the age of 12 to 17 years of age will try drugs for the first time. Let that set. 4,000 young people. We need to arm our students with the knowledge around addiction. We need to arm students around consequences if they choose to use drugs. We need to arm students with information. By implementing a curriculum into the school systems, we are starting where it usually begins, with friends, peer pressure, and things like that. The road to prevention is through education. Thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules to allow another speaker, teacher from Lowell High School. Motion by Council Rock, seconded by Council Malinazzo. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed motion carries. Rules are suspended. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Katie Sheridan. I'm from Lowell High School. I didn't come prepared to speak, really, but I brought notes to share with you if you'd like to see them. So maybe I'll just read my notes. When Governor Baker started his task force in June, my wheels started turning because I'm pretty emotional about the amount of students that I've had to bury. I have to go to a wake tomorrow night. One period a day, my duty is to sit in in-house detention. And I thought, what about a way we could bring opiate awareness, drug awareness into in-house detention? We have a state-of-the-art studio at the high school. We have all kinds of facilities to make videos and films, so I thought, what if we brought it into the high school and incorporated that into part of the detention process? So I started contacting people because I didn't have a green light. I didn't have permission. So I have a list of people I've contacted, from Governor Baker, Mara Healy, Mary Lou Sutters, Eileen Donahue, Marty Meehan, Dave Nangle, Rodney Elliott, James Morton, who's the deputy for the Juvenile Court of State of Massachusetts. Everybody keeps giving me the thumbs up. Everybody keeps saying, great idea, bring it, bring it, bring it. And we keep having meetings about what the next meeting's going to be about. So I decided that I was just going to start it without permission. So I started with a few students who I had parent permission from, and we've made a few videos. We interviewed last week Jordan Guys, who was very open and poignant about the struggle that he went through with his brother. We've interviewed a 25-year heroin addict who's now 18 years in recovery. We also interviewed Maureen McGlame from the RFK Children's Action Group, who told us that 1 in 4 children in the state of Massachusetts is somehow affected by this epidemic. So we started just making some notes of things that we have to do before we can really get things going. So these are just some of the ideas, and they're a little scattery, but I think my point gets across. So we combined in-house detention with this program. Students can watch pre-recorded interview with a current juvenile offender, then have to write a reflection on what they watched. So it's a win-win. Have studio production write the script, do the camera work, another win-win. We talked about, can a judge order an offender to do an interview? What are the confidentiality issues? Do we need queries? Do we need parents to sign off on this program if it's still in the making? Can we get small groups of students to meet after school for awareness programs in lieu of detention? Can we take students to the police station to see a process of arrest, how much it costs, what happens after the arrest process? Can we have TV production do a documentary-style film on the booking process, a little bit of a scared straight? Can we have some sort of NA or AA meeting group at the high school? We've never had one. I don't know what the possibility of that could be. Can we get teachers and guidance on board? Can we get workshops for teachers to see signs of abuse? Can we combine all elements of the high school program, writing, science, fine arts? Can we build units into the curriculum to address issues? These are all questions I don't have the answer to. Can we do it? Yes or no? Can we have workshops to help teach? How do we pay people to do this? Then we have things to do. We need the following groups on board: school committee, city council. We've got Zach's team, scholarship families, the Lowell Police Department, guidance, parent representation, Friends of Lowell High, community leaders, local government, and then things to consider. Writing parent permission letter. I wrote, get someone who writes well legal. The legalities of it. What can we show? What can we do? What are we allowed to do? What can we do during the school day? What can we do after school if we're using the facility? How can we get training? The only training I know is the compassion a teacher has to keep students alive and to stop burying our students. What do we do with people that want to squash it, hence whispers? Do we need a confidentiality clause? Can we put it into the handbook? Can we keep bulletin boards, graphic headlines, keep things current, keep things raw? Can we find out if we can put episodes on the morning show? If any of you went to Lowell High, you know we have a morning show where we show current events. Can we do it? Can we have teams wearing some sort of ribbon, come up with some kind of a logo? Can we get the graphic design program at Lowell High involved? So we just have a lot of questions and a lot of things that I need the green light in order to actually initiate it and start it. And so I think did I send Rodney the first video clip that we made with the interview? I think I sent it to Dave Nangle, maybe.
Nope.
So we have some things on board. I'd love to share it with anybody. I also have my pile of notes here if anybody wants to keep them. And I'm willing and able. I think we're all kind of sick of having meetings about meetings, and we want to get the ball rolling.
I think this has, if I may, I think the items that you have listed need both this organization and the school committee organization to take action on it. It has all the makings of we don't need another group, but at least to get all the stakeholders to the table at a task force, an opiate epidemic task force, to meet and come up with recommendations to bring to this body, to bring to the school committee as well, to say, yes, let's move forward. So we can either suspend the rules or I'll file a motion, or I'll file a motion next week in order to, I think it needs all those stakeholders that you just mentioned, the police department, the school committee, the members of the council, the manager, the health department, the hospitals. I think you need all those people around a table to take action on these items, including the headmaster and the superintendent. So I don't know what members' thoughts are, if we want to wait till next week or if we want to do something now, but I'd offer that motion. Council Mercia?
Thank you very much. This is an epidemic in the city. It's a frightening situation. I have never, ever heard more crucial notes than what you just displayed. And we're sick of having meeting after meeting. We want results now. And that's where I'm frustrated. We want to start fighting this war. I went to a school today. I'm not going to mention the school. And we were talking, I was reading a book. They had an election, and the kids were wondering why would all these people come into the school. And the teacher said, because it's a primary, we're having an election, and we're going to talk about it. So I went there to talk about it, to say what it means to be a city councilor. And then I read a book, and then I segued into doing my part, which probably they're not listening to me, but I said, please promise me that you will not go on drugs. If you're sick and you go to the hospital or the doctor and the doctor gives you a prescription, that's all right, but don't take any medicine. And I went on and on about that, and they promised me that they wouldn't do it. And the little girl raised her hand and she said, my grandfather sells drugs. Last week I went to a wake for a 29-year-old loved one, a son. He died of a heroin overdose. It's becoming more frequent all the time. I don't care about what are the rules, this, that, or the other. I like to start it. I think the only rule you could do is probably ask permission from the kids' parents. And some may opt out, that's their choice, but we have to start. We have to get people in the school system. Chief Winwood from the fire department said there are 49 fourth grades in the city of Lowell, and they're starting right there with the fire prevention message leading into anti-drug. We have to start at the youth to educate people, the children, so that when they become 29 years old, they won't be the people that are going to die. We're going to stop it. We got to do something. And your notes hit everything right on target. And I'm tired of waiting for permission. The only permission, like I said, is the parents. They want to opt out, but we got to start somewhere instead of having meeting after meeting that is leading nowhere. And you're just the one that might start that. And I like to communicate with you to see what we could do. Awesome. And here's another thing. We can go into the school system and say, like I did today, don't do drugs, please promise me. But when you got a person that was an addict that can tell a story from their heart about their life and what they did and how they turned from a good person to a bad, and the family suffered, because drugs is not about that kid. It's about a family that suffers and suffers. Some turn their life around. We heard that at our substance abuse subcommittee. That was remarkable. But, I mean, we need to do something. We're just darn sick of people dying.
I think it's a great idea that the girls, Jordan will attest for this, the three girls that I have on my committee right now, write the scripts. So they're writing from the voice and the brain of a high school kid, and it's important and it's pertinent to them. But to get back to the parent thing, I'd written something down about having maybe a heads-up night once a month or once every 2 months, and say, this is what your kids are going to see on the morning show or in-house detention for the next month. So letting them view it before the kids view it. I think it's any parent that says no to their kids seeing something about drug prevention. I can't see anybody saying no, but I'm hesitant to.
Well, it's a litigious society, so naturally they'd probably want to start something like that. But we need a person like you in every single school in this city that's going to fight and teach them and scare the daylights out of them, like these people that were drug addicts were, to tell that this is what I was, but you can turn your life around.
Well,
these are the people we need to speak.
Let's get the ball rolling.
Thank
Let's
you.
do it. All set?
Nope.
Oh, no.
I'm sure there'll be some more questions, but I do think you need people at the table, and that's why I suggest this group. You need people at the table, someone from, talking about getting into the middle schools, that's going to require the superintendent and those principals. At the high school, you need the headmaster. So I do think it makes some sense to, not that we want to continue to meet, but this task force will be able to have those decision makers at the table to say, Mr. Headmaster, we want to broadcast this on our morning show. Yes, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Mr. Martin has been 100% on board, but just logistically, we don't seem to have
That's
time
why this
to
group will do
focus on
it.
it.
I firmly believe it. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. You're right on with all your points. I've been involved with this over the years as a school committee person, and others before me a lot longer, so I can feel everybody's frustration with this. But some of your points, you're right. You know, it starts with education young, when they're in elementary school, and it's not just about don't do drugs, but it's about a healthy lifestyle, so that when they're approached to do these things, they don't want to do them. But also touch on the point, you know, the films and the talks, and put it into the curriculum, like you're saying. And sometimes, you know, we have meeting after meeting after meeting, and the years go by. And it's time that we take action and do this. And Councilor Belanger brings up the motion to mandate this. I mean, we've been asking for this for years, and it's time to just do it. And, you know, if the headmaster's on board, get the superintendent on board. We're all on board here. You know, we want to save our kids. We want to save our citizens. It's not just kids that are dying. It's young adults. But it's time to really just do it, like you said. Just do it and stop talking about it. And as a parent, it scares the hell out of me for my 3 kids. And it scares all of us that have kids. But the time to start to talk about it is done. And you have some great ideas, just bring it up. This can be done in any class. Math class, arithmetic, science, anything. You can bring this subject into any class, write about it, teach about it, talk about it. It shouldn't cost any more money. It shouldn't cost extra for someone to teach something in class. And the other problem that frustrates us is we do get these people who come in, they mean well, they're recovering addicts, but the schools can't afford them. They come in the first time, they talk, and it's $500. You invite them back 2 years later, it's $5,000. That's got to stop too. If you want to do it, do it. But don't come in and make a living off it and charge people when you can't afford this. And that's part of the problem too.
I said that to Governor Baker when I met with one of his staff, and I said, I can envision the state of Massachusetts having some nonprofit come in and just swoop in and take over this, where you have people that work for you right now. I work at the high school. I'm begging you to give me some help. I'm begging you to give me some guidance. I'm not a professional in opiates. I'm just somebody that cares about kids, and I don't want to see them dying.
Right.
I need training. But the resource officers at the high school, 100% on board.
Yep.
And we're there. We're on the books. We're on the payroll.
Right.
You don't need to pay somebody else to come in. But that's my vision, is the nonprofit's going to come in and swoop in.
Yeah,
And when you
it
have
shouldn't
people from the
cost us big
community
money
that are
like
here
that.
to support us, we have a
Right.
wealth of people to support us. So starting maybe with your task force, but keep it going, keep it
Right.
going.
Well, I think
I
that's
would say just start it.
So that is the purpose, that there will be a continuation of dialogue going on. This discussion has taken place, by the way, at a school committee meeting. The superintendent is aware of it. There is some drug education going on, but what happened over the course of the city used to receive a $3 million grant to hire teachers to rotate throughout every single school on a daily basis, just to speak about drug awareness. That grant has gone away. So there is an effort on the school to standardize what is going to be taught in every elementary school, to standardize what's going to be taught in the middle school and the high school, so everybody is teaching the same thing. So I don't know when that's going to take place.
Well, there's a ton of dough out there, and it's the number
Exactly.
2 initiative of his task force,
Yes.
is to bring it to the schools.
Okay.
So
So we got Councilor Samaras and then Councilor Belanger again. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mayor Elliott, and thank you for the information that you've given us. I mean, it's good to hear, like, we'll say Headmaster Martin's on board. Everybody's usually on board on these type of situations, but as you said, Mayor Elliott, a lot of money's been lost that used to be available for drug training. We had the DARE program that was exceptional, doing a very good job in infusing the curriculum into the elementary, middle school, and high school. But I think you've touched upon what has to be done. When you talk about a task force, I think we need to establish, or you need to establish a mayor's task force to include the hospital, the community college, the college, administrators and teachers from the school systems and parents. I mean, it brings together a good group of people. And I think you have to develop a mission statement and a vision. In other words, what do we want to see? How do we want to handle this problem? There's no one answer. But there are so many people out there with many answers. But I think if you can bring the right people together to, one, identify what resources could be used out there, when I say the vision or the mission, what would we like to see happen in the city of Lowell? But I think with the city manager there, fire chiefs, the right people, you can have an open discussion. It might take 2 or 3 meetings just to bring everybody together to be sort of on one page. And then from that point, that commission can create the working group that will address the issues in Lowell. But I think it has to start from the very top, and then at that top, create the group that will work with the teachers, the administrators, with the parents, everyone. There's no easy answer, but I think there's a desire on everybody's part to do something about this. And I think, Mayor Elliott, starts at your office. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to thank the support of my colleagues who spoke, and very, very sincere and genuine in their remarks. I do appreciate their support. But I just want to stress the importance of prevention, how important it is. I attend, as we all do, meetings and hear the testimonies all over the place that it is far less expensive to prevent addiction than it is to treat an addict. When you're getting into the tens of thousands, not only the damage it does to the families, to society, and whatnot, there's literally no comparison. So I know the grant money has sort of ran out, Mr. Mayor, but an answer like we don't have the money is not going to be acceptable. And I'm not alluding you're saying that, but this has to get done. We need to find a way. There's always a way, and we do have the money. We will find the money to get this done. And with that being said, Mr. Manager, and I have trust in you and faith that you'll work with the school department in order to achieve this. But Katie Sheridan hit the nail right on the head. What inspired this motion was attending the hearings, meetings, and the testimonies, and the same thing comes up over and over again. I mean, I'm not the kind of person who likes to sit there and do the same thing over and over again. That's not my style. With me, if I see a problem, I address it, and I bring it to the table. It is people before politics, and this needs to get done. So with that being said, Mr. Mayor, I would like to refer this, I'm looking for a second to refer this to the Substance Abuse Subcommittee with, and kindly invite Ms. Katie Sheridan with her own notes and questions she has to come up with an action plan to address this situation. And then we can submit that to the manager and so on and so on, because this is going to be a multifaceted approach. It's not just up to the council, it's not just up to the teachers. Everyone got to chip in here. So with that being said, I'm looking for a second, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion on this item? I had a thought. Escaped me. So for any further discussion on, so the motion is to mandate curriculum, school superintendent mandate opiate addiction education in the Lowell school curriculum. Motion was made by the maker to amend it, to send it to the Substance Abuse Subcommittee. And seconded. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. So this will be referred to the subcommittee and and have a further excuse me, have a further discussion. I'm going to file a motion next week to see what the best way to keep this moving forward. So it's so we get these tasks moving. A lot of this is on the school side, quite frankly. And Council Belanger, what I was referring to is the prior grant funding program has expired, but Ms. Sheridan is correct. There are millions in new federal and state grants out there that the school department is in the process of looking and going after, and hopefully, perhaps maybe even as soon as tomorrow night, we'll
Maybe get a good grant writer on the subcommittee, because I'm not a grant writer.
Right.
We have those too, Mr.
Yeah.
Sheridan.
Okay, so all those in favor of that motion, I think we voted on that, right, Mr. Clerk? Yes, we did. So we will continue on this.
Thank you for hearing me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for all your help on this. All set? Anything else to take out of order while we're under suspension? Okay, so we'll go back to the regularly scheduled part of the agenda. We have motion responses, communications from the city manager. We have response, we'll start with, it goes A through G. Motion response A, Lowell Public School permits. Questions? Moving on to motion response B.
Yeah, quick question, I'm sorry.
Councilor Rourke?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, actually, maybe a question for you. Could you bring this to the school committee? I'm looking at the response. It doesn't look like there's any type of appeal process in place. It does look like the decision is made by one person only. I know in the past there's been sometimes there's been questions on how the process has worked. So if there's something that you could bring to the school committee,
Absolutely.
just to see if, you know, a process can be put in place, you know, for a reason why something may be denied, or if there's an appeal process to be put in place. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, Councilor, because I know I've been there before where it's denied and you just don't understand why and if there can be some compromise. Motion by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras to refer this, I guess to me, to the mayor's office, to bring it to the Lowell School Committee to get a further explanation and if appeal a process exists. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to motion response B, drop-off sign on South Street. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, we move on to paintings. Motion response C, paintings hanging in city council chambers. I believe that we disposed of that. Moving on to motion response D, ISP services for the city of Lowell. Councilor Rourke?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question through to the manager. In reading the response, the last sentence on the first page, and says similar projects across the country have tended to run in the range of 200M to 800M. That's not million, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Mr. Manager?
Yes, it is. It's you can just imagine what this is broadband service. You have to.
Is your mic on, Mr. Manager?
It's on. Well, the green light's on. It's a very expensive undertaking, and that's what you're looking at for a cost to do it. To have our own internet service.
It's an incredibly wide range. I mean, you go from 200 million to 800 million, almost $1 billion. Yeah. I mean, is there any, I don't know if MIS is here tonight, but.
No, he's not here, but I was thinking we might want to refer it to the technology subcommittee so that we could just explore it in more depth and see if it's a proposal that we really could pursue.
Are there any other communities in the country that MS has gone through to look at to see that it has cost?
Yes, and it's been outrageous, the cost that it is to do. But I think if we could narrow the issues here in Lowell by referring that, we might be able to see if we could move forward in a less costly fashion.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Manager, if I can follow up, what is the 200, 800 million? What's that for? Is it hardware? Is it?
It's to bring all of the wiring in, the startup cost just to have your own internet service.
So we can't use existing infrastructure that's throughout the city?
Yes. I'm not an expert on it. That's why I'm saying the technology subcommittee might be able to get a better vetting of the whole issue so that we can determine whether it's something to look forward to going after.
It's really become an attraction in many cities, not only here, but nationwide, that people can just tap into, and it's a draw to the urban centers. I have Councilor Kennedy, and then Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr.
Nope.
Mayor. Through you to the city manager. That seems like a real lot of money, but maybe if we were to do it on a regional basis rather than just have the city take that one on itself. And, I don't know if we could have the Council of Governments be involved in that, or even maybe a larger group that included other cities in the Merrimack Valley. And, if we could include Lawrence and Lowell, or Greater Lawrence and Greater Lowell, Greater Lawrence, and Greater Haverhill all together, and if we can do that for about the same amount of money, I don't know if we can, but then maybe it makes a little bit more sense than that amount of money right off the bat just for Lowell. It's just a suggestion.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercy, did you have a comment?
Well, the only comment, and I'm still eating that apple, the only comment I would have was, I was going to say, let's proceed, till I looked at the figures at the bottom, 200 to 800 million. It's kind of a steep for me. I don't know that we can afford it.
Okay, Councilor Milanazzo.
I will certainly support sending it to the technology subcommittee, but again, in the banking world, 200M is thousands. 200 MM is millions. So when I saw this, I thought startup costs were 200,000 to 800,000, which is why, as Councilor Mercy has said, she probably would have at least supported some discussion. But 200 million to 800 million is almost obscene. So again,
she almost choked on that apple.
I know, but again, I'll support sending it to the technology subcommittee.
Okay, so motion by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo to send this to the technology subcommittee for further exploration and discussion of the 200 to 800 million. Councilor Kennedy on the motion?
I think that's a good idea, at least to check it out. If there's no objection from the maker of the motion, maybe it would be a good idea to send it to council governments as well and see if they have any interest in pushing it ahead too.
No objection, friendly amendment? Okay. We'll include that in part of the amendment. Further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Can I-
Councilor Martin?
So I think I'm the chair of that subcommittee, and I'd like to add to the agenda of the meeting when it happens, appointments to the LTC board. Their annual meeting's in November, and usually the chair of the subcommittee is, I think by their rule, elected as one of the council representatives on the LTC board, but we have 5 other representatives that the city council appoints. And we do have a hard time, I think, getting people to serve. So to the extent people are willing to serve on the LTC board, they should make that known. But if I just could add that to the agenda of the subcommittee, and we'll come back with a plan to solicit interest and all that. There is a little bit of time still.
Okay. So motion to amend again, motion to include as part of this referral appointments, annual appointments, Counselor?
Is it what?
Annual?
Every 2 years.
2-year appointment. So anybody watching at home, we have openings. We're always looking for people to serve as representative on the Lowell Telecommunications Board of Directors. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And with quick addition to when the subcommittee does happen, could you do some research on, I know, like, for example, Chattanooga and San Antonio do have citywide Wi-Fi, their own service. Could you look into what that cost for those communities are and the process of how it started and how it ends? Thank you.
Okay. Going to be a busy subcommittee meeting. All those in favor of the motion as amended signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. That item goes to the subcommittee. So we're still under communications from the city manager. We're moving on to motion response E, that's Middlesex College student crossing. Any questions, comments? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. I want to thank the city manager for this report, because as I stated, I was concerned about the student crossing regarding safety of students walking across from one part of the college to the other, across East Merrimack Street, and the traffic issues that are created. But I like the positive nature of this report, how Resource Officer Thomas Hickey has been assigned to monitor the program. And one line that I'd like to read here, it says, on a positive note, the data shows no pedestrian accidents on or at 33 County Square during this period of time. The goal is to be proactive and to reduce injury risk levels of student crossings. I appreciate that we're looking at it in a very positive fashion. Also, that he's created a public awareness program at the college, and I think it's starting to have some effect when you look at the students crossing at East Merrimack Street. But, Mr. Manager, it also talks about the traffic issues in addressing some of the traffic issues. I mean, the good news is the city has turned around, and because of its activity and vitality, there's a lot of traffic. The bad news, because of the activity and vitality, there's a lot of traffic. So the issue is, how do we solve it? And there seems to be a step here. Could you explain that?
Yes, what we do is we constantly meet with the superintendent of police to talk about the hot spots in the city with the traffic. We know what they are. They're the downtown, the Rourke Bridge, the VFW Highway now, Riverside, and the Howe Bridge. So what we're trying to do is to just get police officers out on a daily basis to keep the traffic moving. I know it's difficult, but we're going to be ramping that up in the near future also, because remember, we have daylight savings time coming to an end, so it's going to get darker earlier. So we're going to have to get some more police forces out earlier in the afternoon to move traffic along as it gets darker. So we constantly try and work on it and keep getting suggestions from everybody for where these hot spots are and assign police officers to that area.
Thank you for the report. Thank you.
Further discussion on this motion response? I was going to bring this up, Mr. Manager, about the traffic, but knowing that, you know, if you're going to get police officers out at the, I would say at least at the minimum, the bridges, it's, people are getting, as you know, very frustrated with the traffic conditions. And I know there's no easy solution. It's all about volume, but sometimes if you just have an officer there to override the light, I mean, sometimes people are sitting there and there's no traffic coming in the opposite direction. I think it would be helpful. So thank you for the report as well. Councilor Leahy?
Just to add to what you were saying with the traffic and the dangerousness, the problem the problem now too is the people speeding down the left-hand lanes, you know, at any intersection in the city. And then when they're cutting people off, they're getting those people mad, but just the speed that they go shoot down at, and, you know, that's really becoming a big problem now.
Councilman Lazo?
Yes, thank you. On the report, I believe a couple of years ago when Jeff Speck did his downtown plan, there was a recommendation to eliminate the on-street parking at Middlesex Community College and make that green space. So I would just ask the city manager just to check with the community college to see what the status of that is, because part of the problem as it relates to the pedestrians or the students crossing are also the cars pulling into the parking lot, dropping off, and then coming back out onto East Merrimack Street, and again, backing traffic up. There is a plan to eliminate all of that parking and make it green space. So if you could just check into that. Again, it's probably a year or two away, but again, just thinking about how the community college is expanding, it just makes sense that we at least get a timeline on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on motion response E. Seeing none, we'll move on to informational response, the need program update. What's that? Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Motion, we have motion response F, quarterly motion traffic, tracking. That's on, are we on, we're on F?
F.
Councilor Kennedy, then Councilor Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, the reason that we do this report is because of a motion that was filed about 2 years ago by Councilor Leahy and myself asking that we track the motion so that people don't file a motion and then all of a sudden it just kind of gets lost into limbo and nothing ever happens. And so the report that is good, and I really like the, you know, the colors and so forth, it's pretty nice, but there are a couple of items that are listed as complete here that I think probably should be downgraded to ongoing rather than complete. There is one that there was, one of my motions was a request that the city manager consider Victoria lighting along Merrimack Street between the Cardinal Corner Parkway and Pawtucket Street, which I understand that you provided the council with a report that indicated that you would support it, but that it also was going to cost a good amount of money. And that's all fine, but I think that it would be more accurate, and I think it would serve the spirit of the motion that created these reports if that was just marked as ongoing until we do it. And I don't see any problem with having a whole bunch of things marked ongoing, but I think that if it's marked complete, I mean, we don't have the Victorian lights, so it's really isn't complete. If instead you had a report that said, this is a real bad idea, it's gonna cost $800 million and we just can't do it, then that would be the end of it. But because it's not that way and it could be down the road, then I think it's better that it be ongoing. And there's probably I don't wanna go into the whole thing, but there's probably a couple of items like that too. This, you know, this is just, I think the reason for this report is really for the council's benefit. It isn't so much it's not a report card or a progress report or anything like that, and I don't see any problem whatsoever in having, you know, sometimes there might be a dozen things on here that would be ongoing, and I think that's better than just having it be that because there's a report, the whole matter's over and done with.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Through you as manager, I was just going to ask the same thing. There's one on there for 9/8. That's the mayor's in mind. If we could just keep it as ongoing, for Moore and Gorham Street, possibly redesigning the intersection, if we could just keep that open. And then speaking of lighting, Merrimack Street looked great I went down there last night when it was dark, and it's lit up. It looks unbelievable, so you're on a roll.
So that one is completed?
Merrimack Street.
No, it's not
Well,
complete, because we got our first complaint that it's too bright downtown.
Well, from Bridge to City Hall looks great.
So, Mr. Manager, I mean, we all attended a meeting quite some time ago, and that was really a concern to the downtown business owners and residents. Is it the lighting, the light bulbs themselves have been changed out, upgraded to the LED?
Yes, exactly. We got rid of those amber lights
Right.
that really didn't, and these throw off right down to the sidewalk also. They're directed down, so we went down. I think they're terrific, but someone did complain, so you can't win, I guess.
So there's no need for, and at one point there was a thought to put more lights on buildings. That's not necessary anymore.
No, some of that is still ongoing. You'll see Jimmy John's put lights up on the facade when they constructed their thing. So we keep asking businesses to consider putting lighting on the facade. But we want to look to go down Palmer Street and Middle because now you can see those are dark. So we're going to continue with the bright lighting in downtown.
Thank you. Further discussion on motion response F? Seeing none, we'll move on to motion informational response G, need program update. Councilor Mercia and Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought this was quite a wonderful report, especially when they were asking us this very issue. We were talking about it at the debate last night. But for the public at home that didn't get this in their packet, because I'm going to just do a little bit of synopsis about the needs program. Code enforcement, and NEED stands for Neighborhood Expedited Enforcement Directive, which is quite remarkable. Great job, because code is very important, and violations and things. The result was that there were 39 total problem properties owned by 6 different landlords. 37 of these properties are now in compliance, with 21 haven't been sold. And 2 of the landlords contacted for the needs program refused to meet and are in the process of housing court. So you can try to evade us, but we'll get you eventually. And it's only for the benefit of the neighborhoods in the city that if one property is a problem, it brings the value right down, and it's like a sword that just spreads and spreads where other people could care less after a while. We don't want that message to be heard in the different neighborhoods. So to compile all this and put it together, that was really remarkable. We did a lot of discussion yesterday with this very topic. And I'm going to reiterate this again. We in the city council, we're only as good as those that we associate and surround ourselves with, and the team in the building department, development services, they do a wonderful job, and 2 of you are standing right here. So I'm very proud of the work that you've done, and I wish that you'd come up sometime and tell the public what you did towing cars that were in violations and shutting down garages that were in violations. And if good law-abiding business people have to, keep up their permits and do the right thing, and there are other fly-by-night companies that are not doing this, this isn't going to be had in our city. And I know behind the scenes what goes on. I wish the public knew that as well, but you do a marvelous job. Thank you.
Well, the public knows now, and I think we'll learn a little bit more. Mr. Manager?
Yes, through you, Mayor. This is a program that was started through Eric Slagle and Developmental Services and Sean Shanahan. They've done a terrific job in this program. I think it's very important to the neighborhoods to keep them clean and safe. And they hold those hearings with these problem landlords right next door to my office. I've had to go in there a few times. It gets a little, they don't cut them any slack whatsoever. So can you just give us, look how Natalie attired Sean is this evening. And could you just give us a brief, brief explanation?
Yeah, before that, can I recognize Councilor Martin was patiently waiting. Sorry about Councilor.
Sure. I think it's important to hear from these folks. I wanted to agree with Councilor Mercy. I'm proud of the work of this department, too. mean, they identified 39 properties the first go-around, and 37 are now in compliance. So it speaks to the diligent work of Mr. Slagle, Mr. Shanahan, the others of that department. I know Mr. Shanahan continues to be recognized now nationally, was asked to speak at a national conference of building commissioners. So I think they are doing good work. Unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished, so I'm sure you're going to get another list of 39 properties pretty soon. But good job on this, and yeah, please tell the council and the public a little bit more about it. I think that'd be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Who's going first? Mr. Slagle, Mr. Shanahan?
I'd love to take credit for this, and I think I have probably, but this is really Sean's. Sean generated this idea and put the time and effort into getting it going on the ground and coordinating the team that actually met with all the landlords. The idea was to try to identify all the worst landlords in the city, the ones who were causing us the most amount of staff time, had the most complaints and the most number of properties. And so once Sean had independently obtained that list by talking to all the inspectors, it then took many days, hours, weeks of compiling all the violations for all these individuals' separate properties. And we a little earlier we had a discussion where somebody was mentioning scared straight. I think that's kind of similar to what we did. We pulled the landlords in for an individual meeting with about a dozen different public safety individuals and myself and Mike McGovern from the city manager's office to basically confront them about the type of resources that they were costing the city every single day. I think the most important thing that we got across to them was that at this point it becomes a zero tolerance for code violations. That means every time we got a complaint, they got a fine, and the fines were escalating, and the fines were, it was like progressive discipline. And we would fine them for every possible code violation we could find, building codes, health codes, any violation that we found upon an inspection. We required all of the landlords to complete both COI inspections, fire safety inspections, and rental unit inspections. Each and every property was required to go through that process, and all of the ones that are listed in compliance here went through that process, and not just completed the process, completed and passed all their inspections. So I'm going to give Sean a little bit of face time here. He really deserves a lot of the credit for this. It was his baby from the beginning.
Well, he said he was going to turn it over to you, but it took him a while.
It's the height thing.
So you don't have to go through the whole thing. We'll just figure you just did everything that he just said.
Very quickly, we just decided that we were no longer going to be in the property management business. We are no longer managing properties for landlords who just put people in and collect rents and don't do anything. So part of it was we decided to take every inspector we had, and I said, don't talk amongst yourselves. I want 5 of your worst landlords. Out of 16 total inspectors, health and building, I came up with 12 landlords, and everybody giving me 5. And they were all the same, one side of the city to the other, all the same landlords. We went to the police and fire department, and they were also the same violators. Now, we're talking some of these with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of violations, enough to fill a banquet table. So it was very important, and it was very evident that this was a multifaceted, with fire, police, the violations were everywhere. So we just decided that, you know, we're not going to take it anymore, and we're going to take our city back one house at a time. And that's what we did. Bottom line.
So Mr. Shanahan, just one question. Moving forward, so you're not going through this, how can we get this message out to any other violators? I mean, that there is this NEED program, and if you're not in compliance, we're going to come after you. I mean, is that something we send out in a tax bill to everybody, or?
I think that we've gotten some pretty good response from the newspaper articles that went out over the NEED program. Landlord associations, we're dealing with the landlord associations, and also through insurance companies. We have insurance agents that are very interested in combining with us to let landlords know what their obligations are to maintain a home on a regular basis and/or lose your insurance, which also results in code violations and so forth. So we're reaching out in many ways. We're also starting with, if we want to do the hotline, we're starting with a hotline that will start probably next week, which will be a 24-hour hotline that people can report unsafe and unpermitted activities. And it will report directly to answer machine that rings my cell phone. But we'll be able to get that on the weekends, at night, 24 hours a day, and get a better handle on everything going on. And that was, MIS was a great help. We mentioned it to them, and they got it together within days. And that will probably go into effect next week.
So I think that's significant. That was raised last night, and we've all gotten calls on the weekends about contractors coming in on the weekends without permits, doing this work, and then they're out of town because they perhaps know that there's not an inspector on. So I think that's something moving forward, if you can stagger something on the weekends, because sometimes you need, you got to catch them in the act. So knowing that people will call into this hotline and it'll go to you on the weekends, I think that's...
Yeah, and we really don't need to catch them in the act, I'm sorry. So we can take that phone call.
Okay.
And if the work is complete, we can still go after them for that work that has been.
You have that number? We can give to the people watching right now?
It's not fully set up yet, so I don't want to
Okay.
cross it, but we will submit a information to the council about it as soon as it's set up, so it can
Right.
go out on the airwaves.
And the other thing we also are taking place of the CDBG grant is also allowing us to put health inspectors out on Saturdays to conduct rental inspections, which will take, we're looking at probably 200 in a weekend getting done?
Yeah, we'll have to see how much we
100,
can get done, but we're
200 in a weekend?
looking at leveraging some CDBG grant funds for code enforcement to try and capture some of the properties that are non-compliant with the rental unit permits, in part because tenants aren't home during the week, during the business hours, so we can't get access to the tenants' units. This should allow us to send out a bunch of health inspectors to one neighborhood on a weekend and try to blanket that neighborhood for getting some code compliance. And we'll also have a presence.
That's great news. That's great news. How many inspectors, health and building, does the city
We have 6 health inspectors, including our senior health inspector, and we have 5 building inspectors plus Sean.
There are 12 inspectors in the city. Okay. Further discussion on this program? Thank you for the update. I'm sure the people at home, it's good to let the people know at home what's going on, that, they see these eyesores, these dilapidated buildings, and we're going after them. So thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the NEED program. Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept the motion responses and place on file by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. These reports are placed on file. Moving on to communications, we have a communication. First communication is a reappointment of Nancy McGovern to the License Commission. Move to approve by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger. Discussion? Roll call.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Moving on to the next communication, we have a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one individual from Division of Planning Development. Motion to approve by Council Samaras, second by Council Rourke. Discussion? Roll call.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion passes. Moving on to the next item, we have votes from the city manager. We have a vote to transfer $78,605 to meet various financial obligations. Second reading in city councils in order to transfer funds to meet various financial obligations ordered by the city council of the City of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $78,605 be transferred from the manager's contingency account to various account more fully described in attachment A. Questions for the city manager on the transfer? Councilor Mercia.
Not a question, just a comment that some time ago, and I've been saying it for years, the manager has a contingency account, and I'd like to see it like a bank ledger to see what's left, and you did that. So it's wonderful to see that somebody's listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion? Councilor Belanger.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Manager. Concur with Councilor Mercia. The transparency and the communication is once again top-notch. Thank you, Mr. Manager, and to your administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Just for the viewers at home, could you just summarize what we're doing here with this transfer?
Mr. Manager?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mayor. First of all, what the Parks Department did is that they paid for the new scoreboard at Colley Stadium out of their budget. So what we're doing is we're transferring money from our contingency fund to replenish those monies in the Parks Department budget that they expended on the scoreboard at Colley Stadium. The second thing that we're doing is the city clerk's office is probably one of the busiest offices at City Hall, and they needed an additional staff person, so we've added an additional staff person, and we're transferring money to cover that staff person. And the third thing that we do is good management, is we do management studies of different departments within the city. You're all familiar with the matrix study, which was done on the police department. We've had a study done of the DPW, which resulted in this council wisely creating the position of Deputy Director of Administration and Finance. When the new treasurer came on board, we did a management study of the treasurer's office, figuring that was a good thing to do with the new treasurer, to give them a blueprint as to what needed to be done in the treasurer's office. And so also we're doing this, since we just appointed a new fire chief, is we're going to be doing a management study of the fire department to see if there are efficiencies that can be realized and help the fire chief out in assuming his new role as the chief of the second largest department in the city.
I'll say, Council.
Thank you.
Further discussion, entertain a motion to approve by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rourke. Roll call.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Moving on to the next section of the agenda, we have orders from the city manager. First order is a 60-day trial for various locations. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts City of Lowell in-city councils an order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Motion to approve by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Rourke. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Move on to the next section. This is reports. We have a subcommittee report. There was a subcommittee this evening, Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee, October 20th. Chair would like to recognize the chairman of that subcommittee, Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Basically, the Downtown Redevelopment Subcommittee, which is comprised of myself and Councilor Leahy and Councilor Milonazo, met at 5 o'clock this afternoon to listen to a presentation that was developed by Michael Gallagher and Colleen Gallagher and the Lowell Plan on a business improvement district for the downtown. Also in attendance at the meeting with Councilor Samaras, Councilor Mercier, and Mayor Elliott, as well as Danielle McFadden from the Chamber of Commerce and personnel from the Division of Planning and Development. Anyways, what we saw was a video presentation on the business improvement district for downtown, the potential for that and what it would mean. And that presentation highlighted several other communities in Massachusetts which have had districts like that have been very successful. Some of those districts, the one in Hyannis, I think has been in place for 15 years. And so the next step in pursuing this idea would be to have the Division of Planning and Development in conjunction with the Lowell plan to go ahead and survey property owners in the Central Business District to see what kind of interest there is, and also to educate them as to what the benefits of such a district would be, and what the likely cost would be. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell, unless any of the other subcommittee members have anything to add.
Nothing to add? So, Counselor, is that coming in the form of a motion, or was the manager just going to explore that?
At the subcommittee meeting, the manager indicated that that the Division of Planning and Development would work with the Lowell plan to do that survey. And so I would offer that as a motion. And I also should bring up, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because it jogged my memory, Mr. Mayor. But the manager also made a presentation at the beginning of the meeting regarding 2 new economic development initiatives for the Hamilton Canal District, which I think he would like to expound upon at this meeting. So if there's no objection, I'd like to offer a motion that that has the DPD work with the Lowell plan to do that survey, and to allow the manager to make that presentation this evening on those 2 initiatives in the Hamilton Canal District.
Motion by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger, to request city manager work with Lowell plan to conduct a survey relative to the business improvement district.
Yep.
As well as to have the manager give a little bit more detailed description as to 2 new development projects coming through to the Hamilton Canal District. Motion was made and seconded. On that motion, Council Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of course, I would gladly second that motion by Councilor Kennedy. But for clarification, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councilor Kennedy, this is, a bid is more or less, just for a clarification to the folks at home, and it's more or less an additional assessment, if you will, I guess is the word, on top of the taxes that would require about 60% vote with the property owners. And then need city council approval, and then in turn need state approval. So there are a few hurdles, well worth investigating. This additional assessment money stays in the downtown. It can be anywhere. There can be a business improvement district on Couple Square. They can be on Lower Bridge Street. It can be anywhere. But in this case, I think Councilor Kennedy's talking about the downtown. So there are a few hurdles again, but nonetheless, well worth investigating, because the money does stay into the area where the buildings are for enhancements. So I support the motion and look forward to the further dialogue. Thank you.
Council Kennedy.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, it does require that there be approval from this body, but there's state legislation in place which creates the ability to make these districts, and so I don't think any state approval is necessary. I think that's already in place just because the legislation is there, but it does, Councilor Belanger is absolutely correct. If we get that far, at the end of it, the council would have final say on whether or not we go forward with this or not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on the motion as presented by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion passes. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress and place on file by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion passes. Councilor Kennedy? Oh, yes, sorry, Mr. Manager. You did. Thank you for jogging my memory.
Thank you. Next Tuesday, we plan to bring in a much more formal announcement and proposal for the deliberation and approval of the City Council, but I just want to give a brief explanation of what's transpired so far relative to the Hamilton Canal request for qualifications and some what I consider very exciting news as a result. As the City Council knows, the RFQ was released on September 8th. Following the release, the Division of Planning and Development conducted aggressive outreach and marketing to solicit as many firms as possible to bid on this. We are excited to announce to the City Council this evening that the city received 3 strong proposals in response to the RFQ. First of all, Wind Companies leads a consortium proposal to be master developer of the HCD. Wind, a national development firm with operations in more than 20 states, has a track record of successful projects in Lowell and deep commitment to the city. The firm moved 70 employees to Lowell from the greater Boston area. The important thing is Wind is teaming with Anchorline Properties. Anchorline Properties owns Crosspoint Towers, and they're partnering with Anchorline Properties to leverage the group's significant commercial expertise based on their ownership and improvements to Crosspoint Towers. Now, the most exciting news is what I think is, I'm going to tell you right now, is first of all, Watermark, the engineering firm in Lowell, has committed to building a $7.5 million corporate headquarters on parcel 17 in the Hamilton Canal District. This proposal is critical to the city's $5 billion infrastructure grant application to the state and will help the city open up the area around the national park lots for development. And second, Genesis Healthcare proposes to invest approximately $40 million for a collaborative rehabilitation center with UMass Lowell on parcels 2, 3A, and 4. This exciting development will be a first-in-the-nation partnership and cement UMass Lowell's engagement in the Hamilton Canal District. This will also be the first private new construction in Lowell's downtown, larger than $30 million since the former Wang headquarters. And the exciting thing about the Genesis proposal is that this is on the side of the Hamilton Canal that doesn't need any infrastructure. Those parcels are ready to be constructed, and they're looking at as a start date for construction in October of 2016. So they're looking to have shovels in the ground a year from now. Next week, we'll bring in a more formal proposal, including appropriate votes for authorization to move forward with land disposition agreements for Genesis Healthcare and Watermark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. That's great news.
Yes.
Great news. Council Mercia?
Yes, but the greatest news of all is they're tax-producing properties, and that's the best part.
Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finish Council Mercy's events at a higher commercial rate, I might add, which is twice the residential rate. Outstanding news, Mr. Manager. Great work. We've all worked very, very hard on this parcel, and it will soon start to bear fruit in the very, very near future. Well done. Well done. I'm extremely pleased. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Manager, as part of the presentation, will you be bringing in, did you say you received proposals from 3 master developers?
No, we one master developer
Right.
and 2 proposals to take parcels out of the master developer's domain.
Okay. So, there's no motion on the floor. That was just an update. We'll move on to the next section of the agenda, which is we have petitions. We have a petition, miscellaneous petition from University of Massachusetts, Lowell, requests City Council to allow replacement of banners in the vicinity of their campuses. We have 2 gentlemen from UMass Lowell who have been patiently waiting here. Mr. Baker is accustomed to it, but with that, we have this petition. I'll entertain a motion to send it to the Law Department for a report and recommendation. But beforehand, would you like to come up and speak? We need a motion to suspend the rules? No. Just name for the record.
Okay. My name is Bryce Hoffman. I live in Lowell, and I'm the Executive Director for Marketing for the university. Thank you for having me here tonight. By quick way of explanation concerning what it is that we're asking of the City Council, certainly you're aware that we have banners hanging on utility poles in the vicinity of our campus. They line Father Morissette, among other streets on our south, north, and east campuses. What we're asking for is permission to replace worn banners that have reached the end of their serviceable life and are quickly passing from adornment into a category where we would like to see them replaced because they're no longer serving the function that they are intended to serve, which is to beautify the campus and the city and to serve a wayfinding function for our students as well. Within that proposal also are requests to hang banners in new locations as our campus has expanded and as we've attempted to create a more unified look and feel for our campus and establish corridors between our campuses. We have a couple of corridors where we'd like to add signage. One of them is between University Crossing and our south campus on the Pawtucket Street corridor. Another is across the Howe Bridge and also on Riverside, which abuts one of our major commuter parking lots. We are also expecting to take some banners out of service, so the net gain would be somewhat smaller than you might think. We're expecting to take about a third out of service, including one side of Father Morissette, and then add a number of banners in the locations that I mentioned.
Thank you very much.
So,
Council Mercia?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. So how many banners are we talking about altogether?
That's a good question. I can only give you ballpark figures, and I could follow up with exact figures. But right now, we have between, I'd say, in the neighborhood of 80 to 100 banners hanging, and subtracting a third and then adding maybe 40 or 50 more to the new locations.
Somebody do the math. Council Kennedy, then Council Lee.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we refer this to the city manager for a report and recommendation. That's a lot of banners, number one, but also I don't know if there's like a time limit on the banners. And also if there's gonna be banners put up over the bridge, on the bridge, I think that we all want to be paying attention to when those banners will be put up on the bridge, given that everybody in the city is pretty frustrated with all of the traffic. So I just ask that the matter be referred to the city manager for his report and recommendation before we move forward.
Motion by Council Kennedy. Second on the motion, Council Lee?
Yeah, and something to add to.
And Council Lee.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to add that when you mentioned going down Pawtucket Boulevard from the crossing down to South Campus, could we just ask the manager to maybe just make sure that the funeral homes are okay with that too, because that road seems to have a lot of funeral homes, so we just want to make sure that everybody's okay with this. I'd be a little sensitive to that, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, good point. Further discussion on the motion to refer this to the city manager for report and recommendation. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So, Ms. Price, you can just be in touch with the city manager, and we'll get some answers to the questions, and we'll come back with a report and recommendation.
Very good, we'll do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next section of the agenda, we have city council motions. First motion of the evening, we have by Councilor Mercia, request city manager allow for dedication of the stone at Fells Park to Patricia Booton, Thomas Brogdon, Marilyn Evans, and Bernard Gill. Seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In March of 1972, 4 people, perhaps unknown to each other, sat in traffic on Riverside Street, opposite what is today known as Olney Hall. These 4 people died as a result of injuries sustained in a horrific construction site accident when a propane gas tank exploded and engulfed their cars in traffic. The 4 people included Bernard Gill, 52, of Boston, Patricia Booton, 27, of 41 Coral Street, Lowell, Thomas Brogdon, 17, of Dracut, and Marilyn Evans, 18, Lowell Technological Institute student who died of burn injuries. It took some time to get the memorial finished due to park renovations, but thanks to the city staff, Tom Belgard and Henry Marchand, in the previous manager's office at the time. A memorial stone was placed at Fells Park, but no official dedication ceremony has taken place. This motion is asking that before it gets too cold outdoors, members of the East Pawtucketville Neighborhood Group, Steve Brogan of LTC, and Paul Belay, who are involved, would like to see this happen. They're asking for help to get this ceremony off the ground and give the proper honor that is due to these 4 individuals. They need a little more support to make this happen from Henry Marchand, our special events coordinator. The university is offering to help. This group just wanted to know if maybe the mayor's office could help to make this happen sometime in early November. Members of their families would be notified, and we could lay to rest the sorrow and respect that should have been given long ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I can report. I'm just going to look right now, the date. So this group, upon receiving an email or communication, there was a meeting 2 days after. Tom Bellegarde, Paul Marion, Celine Gettings from my office, Henry Marchand. They met at the site. They went over the logistics. They've actually already contacted the families, who are very touched by it. And if you bear with me for a moment, I believe I thought it had been scheduled. It has been scheduled. I just don't have it right in front of me right now. But it will be the first week of September, Councilor. So we'll get you a full update on what has taken place, but it's already ready to go. I bet you, Mr. Bellegarde.
Sometime in the first week of November somewhere?
Yes, correct. That's when the families can make it. So I'll forward you the email with the
Sure,
appropriate information.
thank you.
Further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carried. And they found all the family members, by the way, Council Mercia, so it's pretty remarkable in such a short amount of time. Next motion of the evening by Council Belanger. No, we already took that one up. Next motion of the evening by Council Milanazzo. Request city manager have proper department install a new Parkview Avenue sign at the corner of Rogers Street and Parkview Avenue. Seconded by Council Rourke and Kennedy and Leahy. Council Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Very
I
good.
understand work is underway.
Good boy.
Council Leahy.
Thank you. This is a great motion. Could I just ask?
It speaks for itself, Councilor.
Yes, I know. Could I just ask that, so this is what I had brought up before, so if they look at this one on Parkview, could we just take a section, say a half mile long, and any sign you can't read, can we get those replaced? Because we can find these on all streets in the city, so if we start replacing, 2 or 3 at a time, we'll get to them. So there may be a couple more on this stretch, and then we'll take the next mile next month and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Council Kennedy. Request city manager instruct proper department to provide a report to the city council regarding 118 gas leaks in Lowell, and that the report include a discussion regarding the potential risks to the general public, the economic impact on natural gas customers, and any proposed schedules for repairing the gas leaks, some of which date back to 2011. If there's no objection by Councilor Kennedy, I'd like to take up my motion as well. It's a little bit shorter, but city manager work with National Grid to identify and address the gas leaks in Lowell. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we all, and the reason that each of us filed this motion is I think all of us received an email last week regarding gas leaks in the city. And that email brought you to a website that said that there were 118 gas leaks in the city of Lowell, some of them dating back to 2010. And I don't know if this is a matter of urgency, but I do think that it's something that the city should be on top of rather than to play catch-up. I'm pretty sure that next Tuesday at 6:30 in the library right next door, there's a meeting on these very gas leaks. So I would think it would be good if we could get some information beforehand on just what the impact is to the city. And I think that, I mean, when, on the face of it, the idea that there's 118 gas leaks in the city, you have to think about the possible risk and the public safety concern. I know that just last week on the South Shore, there was a gas leak that blew up on some street. I don't remember the community, but it was a South Shore community. And so we certainly don't want for that, anything like that to happen here. And so that's one issue. I think the second issue is if we are losing gas, Mr. Manager, then who's paying for the gas that's lost? Is that loss going, is the gas company paying for that, or are the users paying for that? And then finally, if there are those gas leaks, what are they doing to repair them? Is there any plan to repair them? It reminds me a little bit of the double pole issue, except that natural gas could be a lot more volatile than double poles. And so, anyways, I just think it's a good idea to get on top of this, to find out exactly what's going on. If there is a schedule for those leaks, then I'd like to know why there's a leak that goes back to 2010, and that's 5 years that gas has been leaking there. And the report, I think, was generated, or the website comes from a environmental group that's based in Cambridge, is what I believe. And anyways, that's all I'm asking for, is that the administration get on top of this one rather than to wait until the meeting next week in the library and then react to that meeting.
Thank you, Councilor. If there's no objection, I'll be very brief, because I think Councilor Kennedy really stated my concerns as well. It's just, it seems that this is a little bit different than water leaks in the ground or anything else. It's certainly a health issue and a safety issue. So, Mr. Manager, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, we've already reached out to National Grid relative to this issue, and we'll be getting a complete report for you as quickly as possible, that National Grid gives us the issues relative to the leaks and what they're doing to resolve them, especially the one dating back to 2010.
Thank you. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motions carry. Last motion of the evening by Councilor Kennedy, request City Manager instruct Department of Public Works to consider alternative methods of removing snow from the narrow streets in Lowell. Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last night there was a candidates night over in Centerville, and at the candidates night I made the point that the benefit of the candidates nights is somewhat dual, in that it allows for voters to learn who their candidates are and what they stand for, and whether or not they should, so that they can then better decide whether or not they should vote for them. But it also allows for the candidates to hear from the voters as to what the issues are, and this is one of those issues. And so we do have several neighborhoods, West Centerville and back Central Street come to mind, but I think that there's more where we have streets that are very narrow. And so maybe there's a better way to remove snow from those streets than the way we're doing it now. Maybe there isn't, but maybe there is. But it seems to me that before the snow starts to fall, that it probably makes sense to try to develop a plan and see whether there is a way to remove the snow from those areas so that it's better than it's ever been before. And I'm thinking that maybe what you need to do is just sort of haul it out of there instead of plow it. But I would wait for the report. I just think this is a good time to do it. And I think that there's little districts, maybe little snow districts, that have narrow streets that need special attention that the regular fleet of plows cannot provide.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, that motion carries. That concludes the business before the City Council this evening. Motion to adjourn move to adjourn by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, that motion carries. This meeting stands adjourned.